from the perspective of a person who's just running a business, right? Not a practitioner, right? Not a person who's a cloud expert. If I were to ask you that I'm running a business, it's a mid-sized business or a small-sized business, and whatever planning architecture has been done, and now we are in a live situation, in a live environment, and using a certain cloud instance, right? Now, in that case, and I'm planning to have huge scaling for my business, right? I have very ambitious plans for my sales targets in the coming year. I'm just a businessman, I don't know tech, right? So and I don't have probably the time to go back re-architect my cloud or look at what went wrong in planning stage. So downstream, what are the some quick wins or some quick tips that you would give, which a business like this could benefit from while they are attempting to go big in their targets or in their business growth?
So any SME or a startup would have the advantage of a cloud native stack, which by itself inherently is a very expandable stack. You don't have to be constrained by legacy systems that require further and further optimization, right? So the legacy modernization piece in itself is a different gorilla. It's an 800-pound gorilla. Thankfully, we don't have to deal with that gorilla in this context. That gorilla isn't present here. But having said that, having the right architecting principles in terms of how scalable, how flexible, how adaptable your architecture is. It's not just a TOGAF framework for the sake of calling it TOGAF, but from a cloud architecting perspective. So, for example, AWS has something called a WAF, a well-architected framework. So WAF is AWS's prescriptive method of prescribing certain best practices from various engagements, multifarious engagements, and then distilling them or condensing them into a 20-page document in terms of these are the best practices to be adopted in architecting for cloud, for your journey to cloud, right? And once you start employing or deploying those well-architected principles, as and when you migrate as an ongoing journey, that is also subject to an audit. So you have the hyperscaler auditing your environment in terms of how good or bad you have fared as against a score. So you also have why have you not followed well-architected practices for security? You might have followed well-architected practices for, say, a DevOps. So, getting into some of those elements in terms of understanding those well-architected practices, because there are simply best practices in that emanate or that come from extensive experience, right? And for SMBs also, there is a mini version of that can be adopted. So many of these cloud partners also have a lightweight version, so to say, instead of adopting the whole heavyweight WAF. You also have a lightweight version that is probably suited and customizable for the SMBs. But it is important to have some best practices in architecting your landscape, which is expandable, flexible, agile, yet secure for a very futuristic cloud environment. Because increasingly we're seeing a lot of digital transformation happening. Everything is getting digitized. We're consuming more data now than ever. We're all online. There's so much of data, so much of and people cannot tolerate latency. Everything has to be really real time or near real time. So the demands from users have also increased like anything, increased manifold. And to cater to user expectations, to cater to superlative user experience, right? Some of these best practices logically segue into realizing those objectives also.
Sure.